tune into another episode of Free the Key podcast. What's everyone saying? Everyone good?
What's good? I'm blessed.
Yeah, I'm good, man.
Okay. Well, as what is now going to become tradition, I'm going to do the introductions. So, I tuned into me, Dre, the resident San Antonio Spurs fan. And to the left of me is the resident Los Angeles Lakers fan, aka Team LeBron, aka DIY Dopes, aka Dopes. And below me is Mr. No Face, No Case, the Miami Heat fan, aka the locker room bully, aka K. What you saying? Cool. That's good. That's good. Let's get straight into it. So this week all our teams have played. Some teams have had mixed results. Some teams have done well this week. Just wanted to get into that in a bit more detail. So we'll start with the team that's got the best record so far out of all of our teams. Los Angeles Lakers. Dopes, guide us through the Lakers week. What went well? What didn't go well?
So it's been a great week for us in Los Angeles. We're still second in the West, which is major. We're in a 4-game winning streak, which is big for us. We had some big performances by guys like Kuz and Trez stepping up against the Pacers. Kuz had 24 points, 13 rebounds. And in 2 back-to-back games, we see LeBron drop triple doubles. You couldn't really ask for more at this point. Just wish we were healthy.
Okay. How do you think things are going without AD?
They're going better than expected. I think a lot of people, including myself, would have expected us to drop a lot lower down the rankings, but we still managed to secure that second seed, which is key. Come playoff time, we're definitely going to miss him, but if we can keep up what we're doing right now and maintain a high seeding, puts us in a good spot when playoffs start.
And another one, do you think because AD's out that this is enhancing LeBron's MVP chances?
I think definitely. I think everyone thought that this year LeBron would take a step back and maybe AD would be an MVP candidate, but it hasn't gone that way. And I think as long as we see LeBron James playing this game, it's going to be hard to see him on a team where he's not the number one guy and the number one option. And what he's doing with this team now and maintaining this record without AD is definitely a big positive and a push towards him getting another MVP award.
Okay. Anything you want to add, Kay? Lakers?
No, nothing.
Okay,
nothing.
Cool. Lakers are playing well, I can't lie. Do you think the Lakers will push for that number one seed, or do you think they just don't care?
We're not a team that's tanking it. I think if it's close, they'll probably look at who we have to face when come playoff time if it's close. But I think we're trying to win as many games as possible. We don't want to have to face one of the top teams in the West early on. We want to avoid them for as long as possible. So I think, we're going to aim for the best record we can get right now.
Cool. Then the team with the next best record is my San Antonio Spurs. 3-1 this week. We started the week, we got absolutely slaughtered by the 76ers. We lost by 35, but we've turned it around this week. We're on a 3-game winning streak. Almost threw it away last night against the Cavs, but we got there in the end. I can't complain with this team. I just hope we don't trade DeMar DeRozan. And Rudy Gay, I hope we keep him as well. But other than that, San Antonio just performing above expectations. We're a game and a half behind Portland, Denver, and the Clippers. So we could potentially, with a longer winning run, break into that top 4 in the West. So to me, I can't complain. And hopefully Miami Heat take LaMarcus Aldridge off our hands.
Oh.
But we've got a tough week coming up. I think we've got Milwaukee tonight, second night of a back-to-back, and we've got a back-to-back with the Clippers coming up this week as well. So a testing week coming ahead for the Spurs, but just say can't complain. I didn't think we'd be in the playoff contention this year, but the young Bucks, Keldon Johnson, DeJounte Murray stepping up. Keldon Johnson got 22 points and 21 rebounds last night. So
that's big. That's big. So I know you're happy with the performance of your young stars and DeMar DeRozan's become a leader for your team. What are you hoping to get out of this LaMarcus Aldridge trade? What would be the ideal situation from that?
I don't think we can get much because he's not really providing much for us this season. I think teams are waiting for the buyout, to be honest. And ideally, I think if we wanted to trade LaMarcus Aldridge, we should have traded him at the start of the season. We could have got more, but we'd be lucky if we got anything. Ideally, I would want Vucevic from Orlando. I think if we got Vucevic, that turns us into a tough out in the playoffs. But if we don't get nothing for LA, I'm not really too bothered. It just saves cap space for the summer, to be honest.
And what do you think about these moves? Because the Spurs, they don't normally make any big trades during the season. So the fact that they're trading, do you think that they're really trying to compete and really trying to go as hard as they can in playoffs, or are they trying to rebuild?
I think with DeRozan, it's if he doesn't sign an extension this summer, then we'll trade him. I think with the others, like Rudy Gay, Patty Mills, LA, it's just what can we get? You know, I think we're now full speed into the youth movement with the Spurs. So I want to say there's not a place for them, but all eyes are on the youth coming through. So if we could get anything of value, but not eat into our cap space, then I'm not complaining. Yeah. And on to the next team, Miami Heat. Talk us through the week. What's gone well? What hasn't gone well?
Well, as you know, we had a good little 5-game winning streak, which was good. And now we're on a 2-game losing streak, which is bad. Losing to Memphis and losing to Indiana smacked us up last night. They beat us by what, 27, I believe. So yeah, like and we're gonna play them again tomorrow. So and we got a little tough stretch: Indiana, Phoenix, and Portland. And I think we're playing Hornets, I believe, at some point during the week. But obviously, this is what I expect from Miami. Miami, we have a good little run, and then when we lose, like we could all even go on a 5-game losing streak and stuff like that. But hopefully, we can turn it around and beat Indiana tomorrow. But other than that, Miami's sitting in 4th. If we can finish 4th, that would be great. Because Atlanta's right behind us, so you have to try and keep up with the wins, man, and calm down with losing, man. But other than that, nothing really to be worried about so far.
Because man is the last. Oh, go on, Dopes.
I was gonna say, so what do you think you need to turn it around? Is there any pieces that you could pick up that would help your team be more competitive? Trade deadline coming up, obviously. You acquired Ariza?
Yeah, Trevor Ariza, yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel about that acquisition?
I'm not sure about that trade. Obviously, I understand Miami getting rid of
KKK Leonard.
Yeah. But I don't know. Maybe that was the only possible good trade Miami could have got. I believe we got a 2027 pick. I don't know. That's like ages away, so I'm not quite sure what they're gonna do. Maybe they might move on Ariza again. I'm not sure, but I don't know. Like having Ariza is just like having Andre Iguodala again, isn't it? Just that type of trade as I see from last season. but I'm not too sure. We just have to wait and see what's going on. And Pat Riley, we trust, as some would say.
Mm. I just want to say, like, what do you think Miami should add? I think trade deadline's this week, right? Coming up.
I
Yeah,
think
Yeah,
25th, so as we're recording,
yeah,
we're a couple of days away.
yeah. So, what do you think Miami should add to improve the team?
as I said before, we definitely need someone that can rebound and someone that can score, that can get us buckets. That's the only two things that I can think of. But again, it just depends on um, if Miami have the assets to do the trades, or if Miami's sitting down waiting for any buyouts for them to pick up somebody. Um, so at the end of the trade market, we'll see what happens really. So that's all I can say for now.
Because before the last two games, Miami had won 7 of their last 8, and were beginning to make noise again in the East. Like, I know you mentioned earlier about Miami winning 5 games and then losing another 5 games, but do you think Miami could possibly repeat what they did? Well, not by getting to the finals, but having a strong playoffs this year.
I think they can. I think obviously it just depends on who they get in the first round. Um, but again, if the league was to if the season was to finish today, I believe Miami would play Atlanta, right? Because
Yeah,
Atlanta would be fifth. Yeah, so
yeah.
I think I'll take our chances against Atlanta, and then it just goes on who we play on the next round. So um, again, if Miami was to play the Bucks, in my opinion, I'll take my chances because Miami
Mm.
shot them last season. I think Miami could beat them again. So I'll probably not sweep them again, but I think they could beat them. It just depends on who we get first.
Do you think they could beat one of like the other contenders in the East, like 76ers and the Nets?
I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? You never know. Maybe. Who knows? Like I said, again, last season, I, for me personally, I didn't expect Miami to make it that far. And if someone had told me that Miami was going to make it to the finals last season, I would have said otherwise. But you just never know. You never know.
Okay, okay. And that's pretty much it with the Miami Heat. Anything you wanted to add, Dopes, in regards to Miami Heat? Are you been impressed with their recent run?
I mean, they're about where they should be in it right now. And I didn't expect them to be at the top of the East. It was a team that overperformed last year and shocked us all by making it to the finals. It'd be interesting if I see them in the finals again this year. I don't think that's happening. That might have been their chance, but they're still a competitive team, and hopefully they can add some pieces and become even more competitive.
Cool. I totally agree. I think they are where they should be. The East is very congested, so 5 wins will take you up probably to the 4th seed. A few defeats will probably take you to the 10th seed. So, but I think Miami are slowly getting back to what they were last year. I think the whole NBA finals and then coming straight back after like 60 days rest, it's taken them a lot longer than say the Lakers to get accustomed back to NBA life. But I think Miami will be all right. Like I've said before, I don't think anyone wants to be playing Miami first round in the playoffs. I think they'll definitely go through in the first round unless they play Brooklyn. I think if they played Philly, they could beat them. But other than that, I don't see them. I think the most they could get is the conference finals.
I'll be
You know,
happy with that.
you know, if they were to, it depends who they play in the second round. If they were playing like the Bucks second round or Philly, I'd favor them. But as long as they avoid Brooklyn, I think Miami be all right. Cool. On to another team in another conference that are having a very good season. Up until last night, I believe they were number 2 in the West. Phoenix Suns. Now, what's your guys' thoughts on the Phoenix Suns? Should we take them seriously? Are they a contender, or are they just having one of those Atlanta Hawks 2015 seasons where do all right, but they're rubbish in the playoffs?
You know, I think this team deserves a lot of respect, and it goes back to how they finished last year. They was invited to the bubble, won all of their games in the bubble, but still wasn't good enough to make the playoffs. So they continued that run, and by adding Chris Paul, who's brought his leadership and his experience, has made this a really competitive team. And this is a team that could be dangerous, man. If they're underestimated, you've got a young star in Devin Booker, who's confident and does amazing things in clutch situations. And you've got Chris Paul and his leadership on offense and defense. Even though he's undersized guard, he's one of the better defenders in his position. So he's made them a scary team.
Cool. I think they're probably overperforming. There's no way I thought they would be third in the West at this stage of the season. But like you said, Dopes, with them continuing basically what they've done in the bubble when they won every game in the bubble, they've carried that belief and confidence into this season. I think the addition of Chris Paul and Jay Crowder has probably been the 2 best off-season acquisitions any team's made. I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna. I don't even know if they win their first round matchup. To be honest, if things ended today, they would be playing Portland in the first round of playoffs, and I don't think Phoenix would be favorites, and they're the 3 seed. So, to me, I think they've done well by just making the playoffs. I don't see them making the conference finals, but I think they should just take this season as a good building block for future seasons and try and maximize Chris Paul as much as he can, because was he 36? There's not many years left in Chris Paul. So try and maximize what they can get out of him, have a good playoffs this season, and look to build potentially for a deeper run of playoffs next year. What's your thoughts, Kay?
Yeah, I think Phoenix they've done pretty good, you know, like as you said, I agree with what you said. I think they've kind of just overperformed a bit, but obviously picking up CP3 and Jay Crowder, that's a good addition to the squad. You know what Devin Booker is gonna bring you every night. Aiton's been playing well. But you know, I for some reason, if they play Portland, for some reason I can kind of see Phoenix beating them, man. I don't know why. I can kind of see them winning that, but then again, who would they play in the next round after that? So, you know,
So realistically, like, how far do you think they could go in the playoffs?
Maybe you know what? Anything can happen. You know, like if they made it to the conference finals, I wouldn't be surprised. But I would just say if they're for 100%, I thought they could pass the first round 100%. But again, as I said, it's just who they play in the next round after that, and whatever happens, they should just build off that and then be better for next season. And you never know what could happen.
And Dubs, how far do you think? Yeah, how far do you think they could go?
I wouldn't be surprised if you saw this team in the Western Conference Finals. All just going to depend on matchups and Chris Paul's health. As we've seen, he's been injured at key moments in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's true.
We've seen series swing, and as you said, he's not in his prime anymore. He's not in peak physical shape. So making sure he's in top condition when those moments come is going to be key for this team, because he's a major part of them now moving forward.
Who do you think will go further in the playoffs, Utah or Phoenix?
Oh, that's tough, because we've seen Phoenix hasn't been in the playoffs for a while, but Chris Paul has, and he's their leader. And he brought the OKC team to the playoffs last year. Donovan Mitchell had a big 50-point game in the playoffs last year, but then he got knocked out. The team's really rolling this year, but I like the veteran experience that Chris Paul brings. And I think he's one of the best leaders in this league. And with the star talent of Booker and Ayton, I think he can take them a bit deeper than Utah Jazz.
And who do you think is going further in the playoffs, Gay?
Oh man, that's a 50-50 to me, man. I don't know. It just all depends on who brings their A game, to be fair. In theory, it should be Utah, but you never know. Phoenix could go further than Utah because just on the fact of like CP3's there. Remember CP3, like he's been like he's tested in the playoffs, and obviously Crowder's been to the finals, so he knows what it's like to get all the way there. So it just, like I said, it all depends, man. It's tricky, man. It all depends because if let's say for instance, let's just say for instance, like Phoenix play Denver for example. I don't know, man. That one would be a good game to watch. Obviously Denver, I think Denver would win, but I don't know, man. It's tough. It's proper tough. That's a very good question. I don't know, man.
I've had one reservation with like Phoenix in general. I think they're just used to being the underdog. And I think this season they're just being the underdog. I think when you get into the playoffs, especially if you're a high seed, you're the favorites.
Yeah.
And like, how do they know how to deal with being the favorites in the series? And also, at some point, I think every team in the West has got playoff experience. And say if the end of today they'll be playing Portland, and Dame time turns up when it's crunch time. You get me? So, to me, how do Phoenix manage being 2-1 down in the series, or losing the first 2 games at home in a series? Like, that's what worries me with Phoenix. And because it is the difference between, well, the Lakers are the best team in the West, isn't it? Like, keep it real. But the standard between everyone else from about the second best team to the 9th best team in the West, there's not much in it. So to me, if Phoenix played a Portland or Clippers, even the Spurs, because Spurs have pop, like, they know how to navigate.
So can I ask? Okay. Do you think if Phoenix played Spurs, you would take Spurs over Phoenix?
It'd be a tough series. It'd be a tough series. I honestly believe, like, if there was any team that I wanted to play out the top 4 seeds, top 4 teams in the West, would be Phoenix.
Right.
They're expected to win. They don't know how to deal with that.
What, though, yeah?
I mean,
I feel like Devin Booker will come there to prove something, but at the same time, I don't know. Then again, I'm thinking, I don't think he's played that, like, when it comes to defense. Like, defense is a whole different ball game. You get what I'm saying? I don't think he's faced that yet. So I don't know if he can stand up to that test. I don't know. But again, as I said before, it's just about who comes there with their egg game, really.
And plus, you're not playing a different team every other night. You're playing the same team for a maximum of 7 games, and you're not dealing with these bummy coaches like the ones in Minnesota. You're dealing with, if they played San Antonio, you're dealing with one of the best coaches of all time, innit? In Pop. He will find a way to try and contain Devin Booker. So, and it's a lot slower in the playoffs as well, and it's a lot more half-court sets. So, it's. I'm not saying Phoenix are going to lose in the first round, it will be very difficult for every team, probably outside of the Lakers.
Just going to touch on what Kay was saying about we don't know if Devin Booker is going to be used to this playoff style defense where teams are game planning towards you. But he's been a star of his team for a number of years right now. Many years in the past, you could say he's the only threat on that team. So I'm sure he's used to teams game planning for him. And a couple of years ago, he's complaining about getting double teamed out open run. I hope his teammates been doubling him in practice this year, man, because it's going to pay off in it if he makes playoffs.
Yeah.
But with the whole underdog status thing, you could say the same thing about Utah Jazz. Like LeBron said, nobody plays with the Utah Jazz on 2K. No one expected the Utah Jazz to be where they are. Can they handle that pressure as well? We have to wait and see.
I think it's different for Utah because last year, if we remember, they were 3-1 up as well over Denver and dropped the ball. So I think they've more got of a point to prove this year than Phoenix. Phoenix can, I think the worst thing that could happen to Phoenix is if they get swept or lose 4-1 in the first round. But if they were to lose 4-2, if it goes to 7 games, I don't think people will be on Phoenix's back as much as if it were Utah.
Yeah, I agree. Because just making playoffs is an achievement for this team, for this Phoenix team. So you'd be happy with that result there.
For Utah,
one last,
go on.
One last thing, I think we're talking about this team overachieving, and I don't know if that's the right word to use in this situation. I wouldn't expect them to be where they are in the ceilings right now. But I feel like a couple of teams have underperformed, like the Denver Nuggets. They're still doing well, but I think after seeing Jamal Murray in the playoffs last year, I think some of us are a bit more excited and expecting him to do more this year, but he hasn't lived up to that expectation. I think turn it up again in playoff time, it won't matter.
I think with Denver, they're very slow starters. They always start the season slow and they pick it up towards the end. So I think they're just about starting to turn it up now. They're another team. I expect them to make the Western Conference Finals.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I expect them to make the Western Conference Finals. That they have that expectation now. They were there last year, right? So I think anything lower than that, it's not a good season. I think
What, you think they can make it though?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. They turn up towards the end of the season and they turn up in the playoffs. You don't want to be playing the Joker.
I don't know, man, because imagine now, the playoffs come, and imagine, let's say Clippers, they switch it on and that, and they're like proper focus, and you get me, they're not like the Clippers from the bubble, last season in the playoffs, sorry. And say if they turn it on and that, I don't think, and let's say they played Denver again, I don't see Denver beating them again this time around.
You don't know. I'm not really impressed with the Clippers this year. I'm not really impressed with them. They're pretty much the same as last year. They don't look like a team. I don't think they run a game plan. It looks like they're just playing pickup ball. Everyone just does what they want. The defeats are, I think everyone focuses in on the defeats a bit too much, but some of them are bad. Like, remember the other day, you were on the phone to me while they were up against the Bucks, and they were doing foolishness in the last minute. Like, to me, as someone said to me once, the Clippers are going to clip in it. So at some point, they're going to flop. It's going to happen.
I've got faith and belief in them, man.
All right, so cool. So moving on, we're going to talk about someone that I think sometimes doesn't get his due praise. He's moved up to 11th all-time on the NBA scoring list this week. He's averaged 20 points over the last 28 days. Mr. Carmelo Anthony. What's your thoughts on Carmelo Anthony moving up to 11th all-time? Do you think he gets his due respect, or do you think he's overrated? Like, how do you judge Carmelo Anthony?
Well, I definitely don't think he gets enough respect. I'll say that just for starting it. But to be in the top 20 of scoring from all time is a special thing. That's a very, very special list. And who knows where he'll end up when his career is done. He should be able to break into the top 10. He's been scoring is one thing that he's been consistent with throughout his career. He's always been able to get a bucket. And to be averaging 20 points today at this age is also big.
What's your thoughts, Kay?
I don't think Carmelo's overrated, man. To me, he's like one of the well, in his prime, he was like an elite scorer. Have to throw out there, he'll probably he was probably in one of probably the best draft class in my opinion. But for him to make it number 11 in all-time scoring, that's a good achievement. That's a good achievement for him. As I said before to Dre time ago, I think to me the best Melo was the Denver Melo, Denver Nuggets Melo. But yeah, he's an elite scorer, man.
And I think he does. Yeah, he doesn't get his just due. I think he's one of the best players of this generation, or maybe say the last generation, really. He's came in the same time as LeBron. I think he may not get the same respect because he's in the same era as LeBron. I think if he was in the era before, or maybe coming up in this era, then he may get his just dues. But because I remember when he first came into the league, he was compared with LeBron. Like it was
And
either
some may say he was better.
Melo or LeBron, and I think because LeBron's gone on to be literally one of the greatest of all time. I think sometimes I downplays what Melo's done in the league. He's one of the best scorers ever, especially in the last 15 years in the NBA. He will get you buckets and he can get buckets by himself. There's not many players in the league that can do that. He deserves to be praised as one of the, I wouldn't say one of the best of all time, but one of the best scorers of all time, definitely. How do you think his career will be judged at the end of the day when it's all said and done?
I think when it's all said and done, you go first. You go first, okay?
No,
I was gonna say when it's all said and done, I think he's a Hall of Famer. Because we take into account what he done in college and in high school as well. Being one of the top recruits in high school from Oak Hill Academy, and winning a championship in the NCAA. He hasn't won yet in the NBA. That would solidify it and give a lot of people everything to shut up about because he's a baller. We know he can get a bucket, but he just hasn't won. And like you said, him being compared to LeBron hasn't done great things for his reputation. And you know what? Maybe if he humbled himself earlier, he might have been in position to win, but he went down his own route. He's humbled himself now, and he's on a competitive team in Portland. But if he could have done this a couple of years ago, we might have seen him with a ring.
I agree. I just want to read off these career stats for you. 10-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA second team, 4-time All-NBA third team, NBA scoring champion 2013, NBA All-Rookie first team 2004. So just off the NBA alone, do you think he could have achieved more? Because he's never made the first team.
I think so.
As a personal career, no. I think he's done a lot in it, and that list there to do any one of those things, aimed to any one of those, to be named an All-Star, to be named All NBA, to make any one of those lists is a big deal. So I think as an individual, he's done his thing. But as a basketball player and a team player, if he took less of a role, he took a step back, he might have been positioned to win. And that's the only thing I can say that he could have done different. Innit?
Oh, you were going to say something earlier, okay?
No, I was saying I think I don't know if I was in Melo's shoes. I'm just saying as a competitor, if I was in Melo's shoes, yeah, I feel that like all of those stuff that you just mentioned now, it's good, but there should have been more, if that makes sense. You get me? That the only time I've ever seen Melo sacrifice is probably playing for the Olympic team. I think Melo should have done more. He should have more to his resume. Again, if you look back in the draft, the top, wait, hold on, like the 3, 4, whatever, like the top 4 out of 5, they all have rings, and Melo ain't got nothing to show. But again, you know, as Dope said, he went down his own route. Maybe he's happy with it when it's all said and done. But I just think he could have had more. That's just my opinion.
Do you think he regrets like not joining up with Melo and LeBron? I'm not with Melo, with Wade and LeBron back in 2000 and was it 10? Because he was meant to be the third part of that big three.
I don't know, you know. Only he can say that. Only he could come up with a answer for that. But in my eyes, I think what Bosch coming was a better. I don't know how it would have worked with Melo there as well. I'm not sure how that would have worked. But maybe he's upset. Maybe he's not. I think I remember him saying he's happy with his 2 gold medals, isn't it? So, you know. Maybe his goal was to win gold medals. Who knows? You get me? I don't know. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Do you think he'll go down as a Hall of Famer?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you don't think so, is it?
No, I think he does. I think his career accolades NBA wise are good for someone of his ability, and the teams he's been on maybe possibly could have been better. I know he was unfortunate in Denver that there was the Lakers, there was the Spurs, so it was hard to even get to the NBA finals when he's in Denver. And then when he went to New York, he had Miami. So it would have been very.
What do you think went wrong? What do you think went wrong for Melo? What do you think went wrong for him not to get to that? You get me, to get to the next step, going to the finals. Now, like in terms of like, do you think he could have been a bit more less selfish, or like, I don't know, like try to get the right players to come to the team? Like, you know, you get what I'm trying to say? What do you guys think went wrong?
When we're talking about selfish, I mean selfish as a player on the court, or selfish off the court with contract money and teams spending most of their money on him. I think it works both ways, isn't it? We've seen LeBron and Wade take pay cuts, and players now taking pay cuts so they can play with elite talent. They know they're going to get their money. When you're a player of Carmelo's caliber, you'll get money left, right, and center from sponsorship deals, etc. Do you really need all the money that the team has? And I think maybe if you loosen up there, they could have acquired some more talent that were in their prime. Like when the New York Knicks put together their big three, Carmelo, Amari Stoudemire, Tyson Chandler, they even had Jason Kidd. It was a good team on paper, but those guys were past their prime.
Sorry, you thought the big three was Melo, Stoudemire, and Tyson?
That is the first time I've heard that as a big three, you know?
I swear, but man, I have to ask that question, sir.
And J Kidd, innit? But Tyson was a big part of that as well.
You mind J Kidd, man.
I said J Cube was there anyway. But anyway, Tyson was a big part of the Mavericks championship team anyway. But they had big names on that team, but they still couldn't get it done. And if he maybe sacrificed and took less money, they could have brought more talent to New York. New York's an exciting city, which has always had a buzz with NBA players.
How many times did he make the playoffs with New York? It wasn't every year when he was there, no, right? Because
They
the
have
last time was
time maybe was
2014.
yeah. I think he only made it twice or 3 times. I think they haven't been in the NBA. They haven't been in the playoffs since 2013.
Yeah, wow.
But you know what? I think part of it with Carmelo is he's not to blame for some of the teams that he's been on. I think he could have stayed with Denver maybe a year or two more, and possibly they could have made the finals.
But you know what? Saying that, yeah, I think when they lost to the Lakers, right, in the conference finals, isn't it? That 2009, I think it was.
Yeah, 2009.
I think they wanted to rebuild the team again, and I think Melo wasn't having. He didn't want to. He wasn't having that, so I think that's why he kind of pushed for the trade to New York. But I don't know, man. I think to me, I just think Melo could have. I don't know, man.
At the end of the day, he's one player on a team where the GM's responsible for building the team around the star player, and like, if you surround him with Jason Kidd that's washed up and Tyson Chandler, like, what do you expect? And then you bring in Phil Jackson, who's bringing in Frank Ntilikina and all these guys. Like, he can't do much. And he's been unfortunate to have been on a Western Conference at the time where you had a dominant Spurs team. You still had kind of like Phoenix that was still good. The Lakers were on the rise to being good towards the end of the noughties. He was unlucky there. And then, like I said earlier, when he came to the Knicks, he had Miami. No team Melo constructed that in his wildest dreams could have beaten that Miami team. So he was just unlucky. But he should have humbled himself earlier, because I think if he'd humbled himself earlier, like Dopes and yourself, Kay, said earlier, he would have been on a championship team, 100%. Like, a Golden State would have loved to pick them up. Even Cleveland, when LeBron was there the second time round, would have loved to have picked him up. So if he had humbled himself, realized he was not part of a big three in New York or in OKC, then could have got himself maybe a ring or two.
But Melo could Melo have gone to Chicago before he went to New York? Back then.
He said that he said in an interview recently something about they were trying to move him to somewhere else, and then New York came in at 1 o'clock in the morning or something like that.
Talk to the original Big Three when they were for Miami Big Three, they were looking at cities that they could all play in, innit? I think Chicago was one of those cities, innit? So
yeah,
New York was one of them. New York was one of them as well.
Yeah, New York was one of those cities.
Yeah,
and Chicago to team up with Derrick Rose as well earlier back then, because that Derrick Rose was nasty, man.
But yeah, Melo's just been unlucky, but he's had a good career. Not many people can say they've won Olympic gold medals. I'm not even being sarcastic. But yeah, he's still not done. I think like this season, he's had a very good season for someone at his age. Maybe he won't win a championship in Portland, but maybe if he can, he's still a good scorer. Maybe at some point he'd end up joining the Lakers and playing with LeBron. Who knows?
But he's a guy that last year I wanted us to sign him. I thought it'd be nice to see him play with this power LeBron. I thought like Melo still has a lot he can offer to this game basketball.
Maybe Melo don't want to play with LeBron.
Maybe that's a possibility, isn't it? But we signed Jared Dudley instead. I think last year we could have signed Melo. Jared Dudley ain't amazing.
Also, we need to talk about how they blackballed him. He's basically missed a year of his career as well. Being blackballed.
But that can go with ego and attitude though. Like I said, we signed Jared Dudley over Melo. Jared Dudley's not the best player on the court, but he's supposed to be a great locker room glue guy. If they thought Melo's personality and his ego was going to clash with what we were trying to do, that's the reason why he's ended up on some more championship.
I think he done something crazy. Like he done something mad and pissed off the wrong person. Because how do you just get the way they treated him was bad. Like for someone of his what he's done for the NBA, like Houston just got rid of him. Then he ended up at what? Was it
They dumped him
Atlanta?
at what? Atlanta?
They bought him
Yeah.
out. Then no one wanted to take him. I respect Portland for taking him. He's basically rejuvenated his career. I just feel like that little period was disgrace for someone that I would, outside probably LeBron and Wade of that era, he's probably number 3 of all the players that come out of that little era. So they done him dirty. He's missed a year. He could have been higher on that scoring list if he didn't miss a year.
And when it comes back to that humbling stuff, I remember a couple of years ago, I remember Damon Lillard and CJ McCollum saying that they need that elite wing. And they were trying to campaign to get Melo to come to them, but he didn't come to them in time. If he went there earlier, no, that could have been a competitive team as well.
Yeah, but you don't know if the league blocked that from him coming from earlier. Like Dre said, I feel like something happened behind the scenes why they did that, man. But I don't know if we will ever know what the reason is.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to the MVP race. I know a lot's been made of it. Some people saying that a certain 36-year-old is leading the way. I know others are saying the beard in Brooklyn is making a run for it now. Like, who do you guys think are the top 3 in the MVP race right now, and why?
Okay, so my top 3, I would say LeBron James, James Harden, and Damian Lillard, in my opinion. LeBron's averaging 27, 8, and 8, shooting 51% from the field, 37% from the free, 70% from the free throw line. We've got the best defensive team in the league, and we're second in the West right now without AD, all without AD, which is big. James Harden leading the league in assists. I think he's got like the second most triple doubles this year. He's having 26, 8, and 11, 48% from the field, 37 from three, 87 from the free throw line, and he's doing this all on a team that he's been traded to. So he didn't even start with this team in the off season, but he's already come and established the role of point guard, and now here for moving from shooting guard to point guard and taking over that role from Kyrie Irving, who's an elite level point guard in this league already, which is big. And my third option would be Damian Lillard, clutchest guy in the league. He's averaging 31 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists, and he's currently tied for 5th in the West at the moment. And CJ McCollum and Nurkic, the 2 next best players, have missed a lot of games this season.
My 3, I would go with Joel Embiid. I just think that what he's done with Philly this year, ratings, he's stepped up a level that everyone thought he could get to. And he's been doing it night in, night out. I know he's out injured now or whatever, but a lot of credit goes to him for, it seems like an attitude change as well, because he's not really tweeting like he used to. He's not really acting like a clown like he used to. He's just playing ball and doing it at an elite level, and he's got Philly to number 1 in the East. I think if Philly dropped down the East, I think it enhances his MVP claim as well, just because it just shows how much they depend on him and how much his level of play is taking them to the top of the East. Number 2 would be James Harden. He's taken his play up to another level, and I didn't think that was possible from Houston. I rate him for coming to a new team and doing what he's doing. He's been doing it in nights where at times it's just him. There's not Kyrie and KD. And I think what I have to rate Steve Nash as well, because it doesn't seem like Kyrie sacrificed his game, Harden sacrificed his game, or KD when all 3 are on the court. So to get that working he's done a great job, but Harden's passing is unbelievable. He can get his own bucket. Like, his ability to make other players better around him as well is underrated as well. To me, you know what? I'd even put him as number one, because what he's done, he's the reason Brooklyn are where they are, more so than Kyrie and KD. His play's been phenomenal. And number 3, it's a toss-up between Dame Lillard and Nikola Jokic. Jokic is putting up big numbers, and is doing it quietly. I think he's not getting the rating he deserves because Denver are not the fashionable team and they're not high up in the West. But to me, he's carried that team, especially when they were rubbish this season as well. Denver have been superb, and Dame Lillard doing the same thing he's been doing every season, but he's finally getting the recognition he deserves. He done the same thing last season. He was without Nurkic for most of it, and CJ McCollum. This season he's had the same thing, doing it. Portland are 4th, I think, in the West, 5th in the West. I can't say enough. Like, Dame Lillard, he at some point he'll win it in his career. Might not be this season, but he's definitely deserves to be in the conversation. And an honorable mention to Giannis as well, because he's doing the same thing he was doing last year. If you're doing the same thing you're doing last year and you won MVP, deserve to be in the conversation this year as well. What's your thoughts, Kay?
My number 1 will be James Harden. Obviously, I like the way how he's playing. Again, following off what Jay's saying, like his passing abilities just like is on a different level right now. Number 2 for me will be Embiid as well. I like the way how Embiid is playing. I think it's down to Doc Rivers. I think Doc Rivers has a lot for him being more focused and less of like the childish antics, and we're seeing like this Joel Embiid like more consistent now, whereas before he'll play well and then he'll have like a couple games off where he's just substandard performance. And number 3, 100%, I'd have to go with you as well with Dame Lillard, especially him dropping that 50-point game the other night. Like Lillard is just, I don't know, man. Like with Lillard, man, I don't think people really respect the guy. Like no matter what he does, it's like people still don't respect him. They don't give him the credit he deserves. But Lillard is playing well. Again, I have to shout out Giannis as well. Giannis is playing well, but I think I believe we'll be out of those 3 to win it. I don't think Giannis will win it again. They'll probably say we're tired of seeing his face as the MVP. But yeah, those are my picks.
I just want to touch on something, yeah? I don't know if Dopes has realized that we left the name off. I just want to ask Kay.
That you lot left my guy's name off. Of course I realised that.
I want to go to Kay. Why did you not include LeBron in your top 3?
Just don't, man. Like he's won it enough times, man. That's my opinion, man. Like, think about it. Like, I obviously I'm not like a LeBron hater or whatever, but I'm just saying, like, the guy's won everything, man. Let somebody else. No one of them ones. Like, let someone else win, bro. Like, you get me?
My reason for leaving off LeBron, like, read his numbers off again for me.
So LeBron's averaging 27 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, shooting 51% from the field, 37% from 3, 70% from the free throw line. And I think he's like top 3 in minutes.
That is a normal LeBron season. Now, I know he's 36, but you see with LeBron, I hold him to a much higher standard than all these other guys. Like all these other guys want to be the number one player in the league. LeBron wants to be the greatest of all time. So with LeBron, I hold him to much higher standards than Harden and all these other guys. So when you're doing stuff that is normal for LeBron, which would be great for everybody else, I can't put you in there. Like to me, if LeBron was doing 30, 10, and 9, okay. You know what I'm saying? But because it's a normal LeBron season, I know it's great to the normal man, but because it is LeBron, I can't. It's nothing normal. They're Lakers having a normal season.
I hear what you're saying, man, but
it's
that's
just
kind of crazy, man. You like what you're saying is like LeBron's putting up great numbers right now, but the only person that can beat these numbers for you is LeBron on another year. Like, who's he competing with right now? Do you know what I mean? It's tough what he's doing with LeBron right now.
I need to see something new. I need to see something more. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
we wouldn't be in playoff contention right now without LeBron. With AD injured as well, if AD was the only guy here, we wouldn't be in the playoffs right now.
I'm not seeing nothing that is new. It's a normal season. Like, if he's doing this now and his MVP favorite, so why didn't he win it last year?
I feel like he should have won it last year. I feel like he should. And
you know what I'm saying? Like, it's nothing.
I hear that. He's been in discussion every year. But I think what Kay said, innit? The league is bored of hearing him, seeing him win, and they would have let someone else win, innit? That's why Giannis won back-to-back last year. He didn't deserve it.
MVP. So I'll say one time, Steph Curry won it. It was unanimous. Then LeBron this, LeBron never what that. LeBron should have got it. Like I said, the brothers won it. He's won everything, and listen, leave it as that, innit, man. Let somebody else. You get me?
There was one year
I wasn't mad at Steph winning, innit, but.
There was one year where LeBron was almost unanimous as well, but someone voted for Carmelo. Yeah. So, you know, like, I think there's years where LeBron should have won MVP. 100%. Like, he should have way more than 4 MVPs. That's an absolute fact. But he's not doing nothing. You see, if he was doing like what he was doing now, and Lakers were number 1 seed, a few games ahead of everyone else, then yeah, but it's nothing new. I've seen this before. Show me something else. You know what I'm saying? That's what he had a better year last year, and people had Giannis as MVP favorite. Giannis is pretty much almost having the same year as this year, but it's not really in the consideration. Like, it's just like it's storylines, isn't it? Like that's how it is with MVP. Instead of who's having the best season, it's the storyline. Like, this is the fairy tale because no one's had a season like this at age 36, which is LeBron's the only player.
But what he's doing right now is mythical, man. To hear a 36-year-old man is putting up those numbers in the league with the best athletes in the world.
Because it's mythical, he should be lead favorites for MVP.
100%, man. What he's doing is ridiculous. But anyway, my honorable mentions for this year, I would say Kyrie for having a career year, and Chris Paul because we've seen the effect that he's had on the Phoenix Suns. So that's my honorable shout out right there because it's a team that hasn't made a playoff in how long? And now we look at the Phoenix Suns and what they third right now. So that's major. So we will start rating Chris Paul, man, and the effect that he has on teams.
Yeah,
Dopes, can I ask you a question, Dopes? When AD got injured, what was the Lakers then?
We hit a little slump. Things are, you know what I'm saying? But we changed them. Where were they?
Yeah.
What do you mean in the rankings?
Yeah.
Third, I think, or second or third. So being floating around this spot.
All right. So just LeBron shouldn't be head favorites then if they were still in the same position. Yeah. If it was
no. So we've been in it.
I'm just saying, in my eyes, yeah. If when AD was there, yeah, and let's say they were second, yeah. For example, let's say they were second, AD got injured and whatever, yeah. Fair enough, they had the little losses and whatever, and LeBron's doing this, LeBron's doing that, but you're still second. To me, you don't that don't make your odds favorite for
Why not?
being
Does that
MVP.
not show that LeBron is the major factor in our record? That should show you that because
No.
LeBron, AD being out, and LeBron's managed to carry on doing the thing and kept the team where we were. Shows you that he's the key factor there.
Nah, sorry.
I think it's expected. Like AD going down, what Lakers are doing, I expect the Lakers to be doing. Like if they were first in the West and LeBron had no AD, then cool. But that it's just the storyline. He's 36. He's putting up these numbers. That's why he's the favorite. There's nothing in his game that's any different to last year or 5 years ago. Like there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing.
And that just speaks to
I'm not saying
talent this guy.
I'm not saying and that's the worst thing. I'm not even saying he's having a bad season or he's rubbish. But like I said, I rate LeBron at a much higher standard than the rest. So when you're at 36 doing this, which is great, but compare it to everyone else that's around doing everything as well. You need to, if he's giving me 30, 10 and 9, cool, MVP. But his numbers are no different to last year. And there's other players that are having, I believe, bigger and better impacts on their team than LeBron.
Yeah. I think
to
if
disagree.
the Lakers were in and LeBron brought them to second, then okay. But if man's second and he's still second, no, sorry.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
Exactly.
That's crazy,
Yeah, man ain't listening to that, bro. Sorry.
And then how can you discredit Joel Embiid? He's been mocked. We mocked for him about him crying. We mocked about him crying
4 of the games this season.
when he was crying against Toronto. He was a meme.
Yeah.
He was a joke last season. We've always mocked him for being overweight, never healthy. And when he's produced this season, he's been dominant. Now, I'm not saying near Shaq levels, but his season is one of the most dominant for a big man I've seen in a long, long time.
Yeah. I agree.
And at Philly, even that Philly starting five ain't all that. But I credit his game and part of what Doc's done for him. They're number one in the East.
Yep.
Like,
I mean, you said that they're number one in the East. LeBron's second in the West.
Giannis won it back to back for being number one in the East, doing madness.
Mm-hmm.
Like, LeBron won his 4 MVPs in the East.
Yeah, I'm not trying to discredit what Joel Embiid's doing. He's having an amazing year, but he hasn't played. He's missed a quarter of the games, and they're still what? They're still tied first. So does not show you that the team's good already. Do you get me? I mean, if the team was 8th,
the man second, he's still second, and man should be runaway favorite MVP. Come on, man.
Yeah, so what? Joel Embiid's missed a couple games. Embiid's missed a couple games, and they're still first though. So, I mean,
what? And Dre's giving you a solid evidence to support the case for Joel Embiid. So I agree with that. You get me? But LeBron, listen, LeBron's second, the man's still second, but he should be running with favorite for MVP. Come out here, man.
So what? So you're saying now the MVP should only be a player from the team with the best record in the league or in their conference?
No, I think it's the player that has the biggest impact on the team is producing the best numbers, and that is Joel Embiid. Like literally.
Yeah.
Like take Joel Embiid out that 76ers team and they're not making the playoffs.
Ooh.
I agree.
Ooh, I don't know about that, man.
You're not. If they do, they're not getting past the first round.
Yeah,
the reason Philly are favorites in the East, well, one of the favorites in the East is literally because of Joel Embiid. And if the playoffs started today, there's no team in the East that has an answer for Joel Embiid. No one.
I agree with that. He's the best big man in the league, isn't he? He's the best center in the league.
And if the Lakers played Philly, they're in for problems. I'm not saying Philly gonna beat Lakers, but they have no one that can deal with what Marc Gasol's gonna deal with Joel Embiid.
Exactly. I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to.
That's the Lakers try to get 2013 Marc Gasol.
Yep, no, they got the fridge.
All I can say to that is you want to make a final with the finals, innit? You get me? Marc Gasol's been finals, innit? He's won a championship. So I have to defend him like that.
I hear you, my boy.
All right. So quickly, who do you think is going to win MVP?
LeBron James.
Okay. Who do you think is going to
James
win
Harden.
MVP?
James
I'm
Harden.
gonna go with. I think Harden should win it, and I think he might just do it. I think there's a lot more to come from him in Brooklyn, so I'm gonna go with James Harden.
He deserves it.
All right. Moving on quickly before we go. Dubs and duds of the week. I'll start by taking everyone's dubs first. You want to go first?
I'll go first. I think my dub for this week is PJ Tucker getting moved to a competitive team. Houston Rockets was struggling. He was having a terrible year stats wise. I'm hoping it's just because he wasn't motivated by that team and didn't feel like they had a chance for anything special. Now he's on a contender. I'd love to see his numbers jump up again because we know what he can add when he's healthy and when he's feeling good. He's one of the scariest guys in that corner, and he's a versatile defender that can defend wings and bigs alike.
Cool. Kay, who's your dub of the week?
Mine is Dame Lillard. Just dropping that 50-point game the other night. So we'll go to my dub will be Dame Lillard.
Okay. My dub of the week was gonna be Dame Lillard, but I'm gonna be biased here. It goes to Keldon Johnson. 22 points, 21 rebounds. First player to do that since Tim Duncan for the Spurs in 2013. If he was playing in another market, the media would be kissing this guy's ass. This guy is the future of the San Antonio Spurs. He's like, I don't want to call him a LeBron James, but he's a beast. And I'm glad he plays for the Spurs. And I've just got to give him his ratings because what he done last night pretty much won us the game. So kudos to Keldon Johnson. All right. Who's everyone's dud of the week?
My dud of the week has to be the Houston Rockets organization. It's been a shamble, and they just seem like they're losing every last bit of what made them competitive.
Ooh.
So I got full rebuild.
Ooh. Have you just seen the news?
No, what's the news?
Yeah, LeBron James is out.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Heads to
With
look.
what?
Okay, Lakers are playing now against the Hawks. Yeah,
Hawks.
he's rolled his ankle. He's out for the rest of the game.
Okay, don't scare me like that, man. It's just a game, man. It's just a game.
Yeah, LeBron's got them hyperbolic chambers. He'll be back for the next.
He'll be back.
He'll be back for the next game. But yeah, you said Houston Rockets. Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, the Houston Rockets organization, man. That's my dud of the week.
Okay.
Wow.
Who's your dud of the week? Okay.
Mine is will be Boston. I don't know what's going over there, but something I don't know what's going on with Boston, man. Like, what they're like near the 8th, or they're like near the bottom, right?
You know
I
what's
can't
weird? Because
remember.
they picked it up. They won like 5 or 6 in a row, and now they've just lost 4 in a row again. So
yeah, I don't know what's going on with them. For me, it'll be Boston. I think they need to make some changes, or I don't know, man. But yeah, it's Boston for me.
my dud of the week goes to Paul George.
Oh,
I might even dash the Clippers in there as a whole. Paul George for getting crossed like a bitch by Luka Doncic against the Dallas. It was nasty. And I don't know what it is with Paul George, but he just seems to be the running joke of the NBA. And like, when he gets caught slipping, he's caught slipping, innit? And like, Luka's not the guy with the flashiest handles. He runs at like 2 miles per hour. To get crossed like that, sorry. And Clippers, in general, throwing away games. I'm worried about them. I'm seriously worried about them. Like I see everything that they done last year coming through to this year as well, and everyone blamed Doc Rivers. I think it's a much deeper problem. But we'll leave that to the side. Paul George, stop looking like an idiot. Fix up. Stop getting crossed because he's meant to be an elite defender. You shouldn't be letting Luka do that to you. Cool. But yeah, that's another episode wrapped up for Three in the Key. Me and Kay will be on Locker Room at some point this week. We'll be talking NBA. Ain't that right, Kay?
Yep.
Yep. Try not to bully anyone. Yeah, anyone got anything they want to plug? Anyone they want to shout out before we go?
Shout out
Big
to
up all the watchers and listeners, innit? Yeah, big up the viewers.
Yep.
Man.
Cool. Yeah, hit the like, subscribe. We should be getting this out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. So instead of watching our faces, you'll be getting the audio as well at some point this week. But other than that, I'm Dre, Dopes, K, Free the Key Podcast. We're out. Peace.